name is Cecelia Rose Waldman. I was born in St. Paul, lived here all my life, and never want to leave it. It's sort of a scary feeling, also one great responsibility to try to sell or tell what Herzl Camp is today, when all these wonderful people gave so much of themselves all over the years. These were men and women who were very much a part of what Herzl Camp was and is. Rose and Harry Rosenthal knew us from that particular area, since Rose was active in Hadassah and Harry was with the Upper Midwest Zionist organization, as was my husband. When they thought of the camp idea, Rose and Harry, they needed someone to do the legwork. I did the secretarial work. Irving was a gifted writer. He did all the publicity and PR. Actually, the Herzl Camp desk was in our bedroom, but our home was really Herzl Camp. The brochures were addressed and mailed on the dining room table. It's hard for me to believe that this dream started 50 years ago. To me, it's a miracle that 50 years later, not only is Herzl Camp one of the camps in the country, but the dream that the Rosenthals had for the camp survived, as did the state of Israel. Hadassah in this area, in the Twin Cities, and in the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, Iowa, the Hadassah women were all part of it, and the Upper Midwest District, Zionist District, also was part of it. Contrary to the advice that the Rosenthals received from local leadership and from camp directors throughout the country who told us we were foolish to start it, they decided that they were going to go through with it anyhow. I think the Plouts were the basis of its success in those first years. Walter and Hadassah did a wonderful job in translating the dreams. My husband, Irving Waldman, wrote all the publicity, wrote all the brochures. He was able to sell the dream and the hope of being able to educate, particularly the children from the other communities who had no opportunity to go to a Talmud Torah, who had no organized Jewish community, so to speak, for children their own age. Camping evidently was a new tool, an educational tool. The synagogues were all busy establishing their own camps. The Jewish community centers were interested in camps, but each one was interested only in their phase of it. This was a camp for all children, from all denominations, and from all backgrounds. And I think that was the success. That was also one of the stumbling blocks in starting the camp. But eventually, I think they were sold on the idea, and the success of the camp was proof in itself that something like this was needed. Rosenthal's Rabbi Walter Plaut was a student rabbi at the time at Mount Zion Temple. He wasn't ordained at the time. The Council of Jewish Women owned a campsite at White Bear Lake. It was really for underprivileged children. And at that point in time, they decided not to run that type of camp anymore. And the camp was up for rent. And that was how we got to White Bear. I don't think Walter Plaut was given more than a few months notice before camp actually opened. And it was very successful. I think more than anyone dreamed it would be. And we decided to go ahead. And brochures went out, registration went out, only to find that the campsite at White Bear was being sold. And we had no site. And so we had to scramble to find a place because registration was coming in and there was no physical camp. The Rosenthals, Mary and I, traveled to the hinterlands really looking for campsites. And if I recall correctly, it was Louis Klugman who had heard of this summer resort in Webster, Wisconsin that was looking to minimize its size and was looking for somebody to buy some of its acreage. And that was how we got to Webster, Wisconsin. And it was a site, the lake was a beautiful lake there on Devil's Lake, and it was decided that would be what we would have to purchase. Of course, there was no money. And I remember we needed a down payment of $10,000 in order to be able to get rolling with the camp. And I remember the Rosenthals getting 10 men to sign notes at the bank at that time, so we would have the $10,000 for down payment. And eventually that number grew and we were able to buy camp in the same manner. That was in 1947 that Herzl camp was purchased at Webster, Wisconsin. And it grew in size, I think afterwards, I think about 10 years later, we even bought more acreage and enlarged the campsite. We went up to camp before it opened in 1947 to clean it up a little bit to get it ready, the kitchen and all that, and we found the Peterson Resort brochures, which clearly said Gentiles only. Yes, the only non-Jews we had were the caretakers were Mr. and Mrs. Collins, who were at camp. I can't remember how many years, but they were really, really part of it. I'm not, if I recall correctly, I don't know if the nurse was Jewish that was always on the campsite. But other than that, all the staff was.